Happy holidays. This has been such an incredibly beautiful week. We started the week out with the winter solstice and happy Yule for those who celebrate Yule. And at the winter solstice, which here in the northern hemisphere is a time for reflection. It represents the longest night. Um, so the beauty of the solstice is after, that recognition that spend, after you have that, long darkness, that long night, that literally every single day afterwards is bringing more and more light in, right? So both from an interpersonal perspective of thinking about, bringing in more light little by little every day into your life is so beautiful. But also as we think about our, life cycles, right? So on the winter solstice this year, we also had what's known as the grand conjunction, right? And so, um, that is, and I'm not an astrologer, though I do have certainly a fascination with it. That is when Saturn and Jupiter come conjunct, which only happens about, I think about every 30 years, 28 to 30 years that happens. And without going into a bunch of stuff around astrology, which again, I'm not an expert on, it is when these two particular signs come together. Um, the last time they came together was in Taurus, which is an earth sign, which represented a time when, there's a lot of energy around finance and money and earthly energies, right? So, yes, grounding, but it can tend to be a time of materialism in some respect, right? And so, if you think about, you know, earth energy, and, we've talked a lot about different energies here. So, thinking about the, I don't want to say heaviness, but that concentration on, how can I be grounded? How can I create stability? Has its pros and cons, certainly. But now these two planets have moved into Aquarius, right, which is an air sign. And, so if we think again about that air energy, we're thinking about, let me make sure, we're thinking about um, focusing on our mind, focusing on our thoughts, and building up how we think about things and how we're moving, how we're planning to move forward in our lives, right? And so it represents really a turning point, right? I think about it as like a turning point for all of us. And, in the immediate, right, the turning point of both, the winter solstice, again, turning from seasons, turning in from, fall or autumn into winter, and all that comes with winter. And I was speaking with my friend Lisa, and we talk a lot about seasons and, what happens in the winter, that cold reflective time that is necessary to prepare us for the spring. So there's that kind of turning point in the immediate. But there's also this turning point from that earth energy into air energy is around, and I heard this so beautifully from an astrologer recently, thinking about moving from this idea of acquisition to actualization, right? And so it's the idea of, earth energy, acquiring. That acquisition is how can I build things, grow things, get more things, right? To create this foundation, to create this stability, to moving towards actualization, which is like, again, more about our thoughts, more about how are we becoming more of who we want to be, who we dream of being, who we desire to be, focusing on what's going to make us happy, and bring us joy, right? And so it really is a beautiful time for us to really try to harness that energy of moving from one to the other. Okay. And so I'll be talking a lot more about this in 2021, and really starting to take all of these lessons that we're learning from the tarot and putting them into practice, right? So we have even here, right? So these Wednesday woos have really focused on that acquisition, that acquiring of the knowledge of that base foundation, so that we are ready to start actualizing. We are ready to start moving forward and using these skills for our highest and best self, right? And that's really what I'm super excited about coming up in 2021. So, okay, so let's get back to what we've been doing here. We're on the last leg of this journey of these lessons in the tarot. Again, last week, we kind of had that heavy energy of the devil, the tower, and the star energies. Heavy in that they are harder lessons for us to move through. Oftentimes, they're more about dependency and loss and upheaval, but then ending with that beautiful star energy of realizing that we need to replenish ourselves, right? That we have to be the focus of our own attention before we can worry about the rest of the world, right? And so this idea of selfishness is going to come up a lot as well in my conversations in 2021, and moving that term away from being like a negative term into just what it is. I mean, it is about self, focusing on us. We don't do that nearly enough. And then therein lies a lot of the problem, right? So this week, now that we've moved to that point where we recognize that all the things that have come up, we can overcome them. They don't have to stop us from our journey. And again, we start learning and really harnessing that energy of replenishment. And then we're able to move into the energy of the moon. Let me bring up our moon card for today. Um, the moon is um, that connection to our intuition. It is that connection to um, our, again, highest and best self in our intuition. But it also, is our shadow side, what people talk about as their shadow side, and often the things that we don't want to think about, that we don't want to focus on, our fears, our anxieties. And given everything that happened, with that, the last 2 weeks in our lessons of loss again, and of dependency and like chaos, right? It's only natural that there's still some lingering anxiety floating around, right? There's still some fears like, oh my God, all this shit just blew up recently. What do I do with that? How do I move forward? Did I make the right choices? And so, the energy of the moon is really to remind us that you do have to go with it. You do really, this is the time to really focus on your intuition and reminding yourself that, those fears and those anxieties, like those things are all holding us back, right? We got over the hard times, we got over all the craziness. We are now stronger and wiser on the other side of that. And we have to remind ourselves, and our intuition will do that. That little voice in our minds will remind us, if we listen to it, that all of those things are gone and we've overcome them for a reason, right? We had to learn those lessons in order to move forward towards what we truly want, right? And who we really want to be. And so, we have to stop thinking about what we need to do. right? And listen more to our intuition, to that little voice that is guiding us where we need to go, right? And so after we kind of get that message, after we, have taken this last journey in this cycle, right? Again, these are things that are going to continue to happen. To these lessons you'll go through, multiple times, different situations in your life. But once you get through that energy of the moon, and you recognize and you realize that, I can get over these things. I recognize now that all of those anxieties and those fears and those things I was telling myself before, like they're not true, and I can move beyond that. That's when we are able to move into the energy of the sun, right? And the energy of the sun. I mean, just think about the sun, right? You don't have to know anything about tarot or astrology to know and recognize, like, when you think about the sun, just the beauty that comes with that, right? I mean, you almost can't even think about the sun without smiling, right? It is that, like, just that joy and the happiness and the warmth from the sun. And you know we need the sun. The planet needs the sun to grow, right? We need the sun to grow. And really, after we're ready to step out of that uncertainty, we're ready to step into the spotlight, right? Our own spotlight, our own greatness. This is the time where we recognize that, all the lessons, all the things that we went through, like, they were all necessary and brought us to this place of our own greatness, right? Now is our time to shine. So the sun brings, vitality and positive energy, and really to everything around it, right? If you're getting a tarot reading and the sun card is there, it really highlights and brightens and brings positive energy to every other card around it, just as the sun does, right? Um, it took us a long time as human beings to recognize scientifically that, we revolve around the sun, not the opposite, right? So this energy of the part of the sun is really recognizing that, again, how much we've grown, how much we've learned, and it's a symbol that it's time. It's time for us to really shine. It's almost, and you see, like, the babies in the cards, here and here, and it's almost bringing us back to that full energy, right? That energy of, like, I don't care necessarily, what's happening. It's all about, you know focusing on our own magic, and no fears, and just going out there and doing all that we know we're destined to do. That is, really what the energy of the sun is. Hey, Molly. Amalia, what's going on, girl? Welcome, welcome. And so, yeah, so it's our time to shine. It's our time to make beautiful shit and create new beautiful shit and just be amazing, right? That's what this energy of the sun really brings to us, right? And so, once we're able to fully embrace that, fully recognize that, we're in that space, that's when we're able to move into the last one for today, and that is the Judgment card, right? And so, Judgment, it sounds judgy, right? It doesn't sound like a good thing necessarily. But the Judgment card is really about this idea of completion, right? Completion of this particular life lesson that we've been working on. Again, these cycles are over and over and over again. But it's really a time for us to rise up to who we're really meant to be, right? Um, it isn't a time of holding back. We were just in the sun energy, right? We're shining, we're amazing, and now the Judgment card is asking us to fully, step beyond just being great and just shining, and moving into the space of, you know really heeding our call, right? So it's one thing to shine and be amazing. Hey, Bambi, good to see you. It's one thing to shine, right, and be out there and be seen and be heard and be noticed, but the next step to that is living in who we really are meant to be and really listening to our calling and really, you know, sitting comfortably in that space where, you know, we've listened to our intuition and, you know, we're not afraid to stand out and stand up. And now we're, you know, leaving behind, and you can see here, you know, in this cauldron, like leaving this fear and this anxiety and all of those things, leaving those things behind, right? Burning away all those regrets and second thoughts and, you know, all of that, like really leaving all of that behind. And again, recognizing that all of that shit was blocking us from this like amazing, beautiful, like phoenix rising, right? When we're able to do that, when we're able to make peace with that, when we're able to see, um, yes, it's always beautiful, wonderful to see your beautiful face too, Bambi. Um, I don't see it enough, only through Facebook. Um, but when we're able to really stand in our power, stand in who we are, um, and recognize and make peace with the fact that yes, this we haven't always been here. We've done shit maybe we regret or we're sad about or we would have done differently, but we did what the best we could with what we had. And now fuck all that. We're here, right? We are meant for so much bigger. We are meant for so much more. And this is the time. This is the energy, right, of this judgment card, right? And so now, you know, just as I kind of started this out with talking about, you know, moving beyond this winter solstice, moving beyond. Um, thank you for putting that in there, Janelle. I was going to post that. And you know, moving beyond, moving through this transition, embracing this transition, and moving towards again who we're meant to be, right? And again, this is really going to be that theme for 2021 is, you know, no, it's not about everything's going to be perfect and wonderful and whatever, but it is about moving away from trying to get things, learn things, or rather get things, materialize things into learning who we're meant to be, right? Believing in ourselves, believing in our abilities to be great, to be more. It's really, that's the message I'm really going to be pushing pretty hard in 2021. And I'm so excited to, you know, have y'all come on that journey with me. So, you know, in the series, I'll move this off here. So in the series of our lessons, these were the last group of three lessons from the tarot. We've been doing this for several weeks now. We've learned so much about ourselves and who we are and how to manage and deal with all this any situation that comes up for us. And so, you know, next week, you know, when we come back on Wednesday, the final card is the world card. You know, we'll talk about the world's energy and what that means for us moving forward. And it's really going to set us up nicely again for a lot of transitions that are going to be happening in 2021. For, you know, within the world, right? But within this group especially, and really learning again how to use these lessons, how to move these lessons forward, how to focus on, you know, our own personal emotional guidance to make sure that we have tools and skills to continue to, you know, move us forward, right? Because shit's always going to happen. Things are always going to come up, right? Life isn't always, you know, rainbows and butterflies, right? But that doesn't mean that we have to just forget about our greatness, right? We have to make sure that we are ready and prepared to move forward. So we're going to talk about that next week. Um, And I'll also be giving you some updates next week about, again, all those changes, all the great things that are happening here in 2021. But because Friday is actually Christmas, and for everyone who celebrates, Merry Christmas to you. So Friday, instead of me doing a live, normally the last Friday we have our card party. But I really want everyone to be able to spend time with their families and their loved ones and relax and reflect. And so, in lieu of that, and you can see here over in the chat that in lieu of that, I'm going to do a little drawing. So between now and tomorrow evening, you can click on the link that's here and enter into a drawing to win one of two one-on-one readings with me. And I mean, I love to do readings. I don't do them enough anymore one-on-one. But yeah, you have an opportunity to just click on the link that's in the chat. And I think I had, yeah, I will, I don't know that it will hyperlink when I put it in the chat. No, it won't. But it's here. It's on Facebook page. There's tiles about it wherever. But just go ahead and I'd love for you to just submit your name, and I will be actually doing. I'll be announcing the winners on Christmas in the afternoon. So I'd love to be able to connect with you one on one for a reading to give you a little, overview about whatever's going on in your life right now. This is a great opportunity for you to connect with me for free. So make sure that you put your entries in, and you can put them in a couple different ways. So you have a few different opportunities to get more entries in. And I think that's it. I think that, again, this is really a time that I hope you are able to, either in person or virtually, spend some time with your family, spend some time with yourself. Again, just kind of reflecting and preparing for like all the amazing shit that's about to come in 2021, right? Because it's here. We're preparing ourselves. We've been preparing ourselves, and we're just going to get better. We're just going to get stronger as we move forward. So I'll leave it there. If you've got any questions, you can always pop them here into the chat or send me direct message or anything. Have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. And I will be back here on Wednesday, where again we'll talk about the world and talk about what's next. So again, have a great holiday and stay magical, everybody.